right, guys? 7.
6.
Go.
4.
Jump.
Oh, boy! 2. Wait a minute. It's New Year's Eve 1999. What the hell are you people doing watching this crap?
2000. The year that ended the previous millennium was as strange and chaotic as the Y2K scare. The 1990s brought the end of the Cold War, ushering in a time of relative peace and prosperity around the globe, as well as the proliferation of the World Wide Web, grunge music, and frosted tips. The 2000s would build on that, as cell phones became ubiquitous, civil rights took some giant leaps forward, and social media began to take over our lives. At the same time, the decade brought the devastating terrorist attacks of 9/11 and the subsequent Iraq War. It was all that, plus more iconic gaming consoles than you can possibly imagine. We're going to take you through the news, culture, sports, entertainment, and all that was weird in the aughts. This is Timeline. Won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Because this one is all about 2000. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel and let us know in the comments below your favorite memory from the new millennium. Now, are you ready to see what happened in the year 2000?
Freaking New Year, dude.
Freaking New Year.
Okay, about that new millennium thing. Because there was no year zero, the new millennium wouldn't technically start until 2001. But that didn't stop people from partying like it was 1999 on December 31st, 1999. The excitement of a new century coming off the heels of the booming economy of the Clinton years and the seemingly infinite promise of the internet kicked off the year 2000 with an optimistic mood. The year ahead would see its share of tragedy and political controversy. But ultimately, it would turn out to be more like a continuation of the positive and prosperous 90s than like the turbulent decade that was to follow.
Get ready to run!
This is 2000.
Hey, Homer, weren't you the plant's Y2K compliance officer?
Absolutely.
Must have been hard debugging all those computers, Homer?
Doing what now?
Before 2000, technologists sounded the alarm about an imminent computer disaster known as the Y2K bug. The issue was that most software was written to calculate the year using 2 digits, omitting the 19. Once the date rolled over to 2000, the software would think it was the year 1900 again, and planes would start falling out of the sky, allegedly.
Oh no, it's happening.
The U.S. spent almost $150 billion correcting the software to avoid the disaster, and the changeover came and went with no major problems. Miami Dolphins quarterback Dan Marino was already considered one of the best to ever play the game when he clinched the final win of his 17-year career on January 9th, besting the Seattle Seahawks 20-17 in what would also be the last football game ever to be played in the Seattle Kingdom. Today, Marino is often regarded as the greatest quarterback who never won a Super Bowl. Despite his lack of Super Bowl rings, Dan Marino was voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility on August 7, 2005, in a class that included fellow quarterback Steve Young.
I'm going to start licking my fingers a little bit, because you know what happens when I lick my fingers.
Goodbye, Charlie Brown. Tonight, a final farewell to the characters that millions grew up with and the man that gave them life.
On February 12, 2000, Peanuts creator Charles M. Schulz succumbed to a heart attack at age 77.
When you die, if you ever die, that's the end of it.
My children just don't want anyone else to do it. And I've seen too many strips go downhill terribly because the syndicate tried to hang on to them and have other people do them.
Corporate creators.
Yeah.
After single-handedly producing every single Peanuts comic over the strip's 50-year run, Schulz had retired the previous December, after his health became too poor to continue. His final Peanuts cartoon was a single panel of Snoopy writing a letter, containing a heartfelt goodbye message from Schulz to his fans. The day after his passing, newspapers published a reproduction of his final comic, adorned with images from throughout the strip's run.
To die the day that the last strip appears verifies the sentence that he once put forth, which was, "Cartooning is my life."
Back home on the couch, the PlayStation 2 released in Japan on March 4th, pulling in $250 million in sales on its first day. The system would make its North American debut 7 months later, on October 26th.
I'm here for
for the PlayStation 2.
Excited by the system's compatibility with previous generation titles, a rarity in those days, gamers cleaned out store shelves, and the entire run of 1.4 million units was sold out by the end of the month. Nearly 25 years later, it remains the best-selling video game console of all time.
Respect the pouch! Respect it!
On March 12th, during his celebration of the first Mass of Lent at St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, Pope John Paul II asked for forgiveness for the transgressions of the Catholic Church that have occurred over its lengthy history. The Pope covered a long list for which to seek pardon, which included transgressions against other Christians, women, Jews, indigenous peoples, and specifically for violence against followers of other faiths, such as the Crusades and the Inquisition. Better late than never. On this day of pardon, the Pontiff also stressed forgiveness for those who have persecuted the Church and its followers.
I said, whose number do you need?
You don't know 600 plaintiffs' numbers by heart. Annabelle Daniels.
Annabelle Daniels, 714-454-9346.
Okay, look, I think we got off on the wrong foot here.
That's all you got, lady. 2 wrong feet and ugly shoes.
530 members of the fringe religious group Movement for the Restoration of the Ten Commandments of God perished in a fire in the Kanunga district of Uganda. Initially believed to be a mass suicide, the discovery of hundreds of more bodies revealed the fire to be an act of foul play, reminiscent of Jonestown. Investigators would blame the movement's founders for the nearly 830 murders, but whether the perpetrators themselves also died in the fire remains a matter of debate. The hit song Say My Name from R&B trio Destiny's Child, featuring future Queen Bey herself, reached #1 on the Billboard charts on March 18th. The group's second #1 single won the 2000 MTV Video Music Award for Best R&B Video and was nominated for 4 Grammys.
Say my name, Destiny's Child.
Ultimately winning Best R&B Performance by a duo or group with vocals and Best R&B Song.
I can't believe we're winning a Grammy, ladies.
Sticking with music, after being repeatedly delayed by legal proceedings, NSYNC's third studio album, No Strings Attached, finally dropped on March 21st. Powered by singles like Bye Bye Bye, It's Gonna Be Me, and This I'll Promise You, No Strings Attached was a smash, arriving just as the boy band trend was beginning to fade. The album is often cited as the best of the teen pop genre. Golf superstar Tiger Woods lost the 2000 Players Championship PGA Golf Tournament to Hal Sutton by a single stroke on March 27th.
41-year-old Hal Sutton is about to become the oldest champion in the history of this event.
Sutton, who had previously won in 1983, took home $1.8 million for his victory, the first 7-figure winner's share the tournament ever offered. Woods, however, would win his first of 2 Players' Championships the following year, ironically triumphing over Vijay Singh by just 1 stroke. Guess he was still upset about that prize money. On April 3rd, a federal judge ruled that Microsoft had violated 2 sections of the Sherman Antitrust Act's anti-monopoly laws by integrating their Internet Explorer browser into the Windows operating system. The judge ordered that Microsoft be broken up into a browser company and an operating system company, but that ruling was later reversed on appeal. The government would finally settle the case in 2002. Baseball history was made on April 10th, when future Hall of Fame outfielder Ken Griffey Jr.
just hit his 400th career home run.
The history-making dinger came on a pitch from Rolando Araujo in a game between Griffey's Cincinnati Reds and the Colorado Rockies.
I told my dad, it's a cheap way of not buying him a gift on his birthday. So, he'll get this ball.
At just 30 years and 141 days old, Griffey became the youngest player in league history to ever achieve the feat. America's pastime rang in the new year by opening 2 new stadiums on the same day. On April 11th, both the Detroit Tigers and the San Francisco Giants played in their new respective homes for the first time, at Comerica Park in Detroit and Oracle Park in San Francisco. It was very nearly 3 new stadiums that opened on the same day, but the Houston Astros played their inaugural game in Minute Maid Park 4 days earlier, on April 7th. All 3 parks are still in operation today.
Holy crap! You're freaking Lawrence Arn from Metallica!
Maybe I wouldn't have to myself out if you kids didn't steal my music.
We're not stealing, okay? We're just sharing with each other, you know.
On April 13th, Metallica sued Napster, claiming the file-sharing service, which was offering their entire catalog to download for free, was engaged in copyright infringement and racketeering. Because it was. But it was so cool, you guys. The first such suit by a high-profile band triggered an avalanche of similar actions from other recording artists. A proposed settlement would have seen Napster bought out by Bertelsmann AG. But when that fell through, the once popular file-sharing service was left with no choice but to file for Chapter 11 and liquidate its assets.
Napster. Sharing's only fun when it's not your stuff.
On April 22nd at 5:15 a.m., federal agents removed 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez from the home of relatives in Miami. The boy had been found alone on a raft off the coast of Florida after his mother perished during their escape from Cuba. Backed by Fidel Castro, the boy's father demanded his return to Cuba, and the case drew widespread media attention. The raid was executed after the boy's relatives ignored an order from U.S. Attorney General Janet Reno to turn the boy over to authorities.
My hope is that people will look at this little boy and get him into a situation where he can live a normal life.
Gonzalez, now married with a child, was elected to lead his local committee for the defense of the revolution in 2015. And in 2023, he successfully ran as a candidate in the Cuban parliamentary election, taking office on April 19, 2023.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Eminem's third studio album, the Marshall Mathers LP, dropped on May 23rd, featuring now iconic singles like The Real Slim Shady, The Way I Am, and Stan. The album sold over 1.7 million copies in its first week, making it one of the fastest-selling albums in history. As of 2022, it remains one of the 15 best-selling albums of the 21st century.
As always, should you or any member of your armed force be caught or killed, the Secretary will disavow all knowledge of your actions. And Mr. Hunt, the next time you go on holiday, please be good enough to let us know where you're going.
This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
If I let you know where I'm going, I won't be on holiday.
What brought you here if it's not the money?
Everybody's here for the money. I'm not going to listen to everybody's sob stories and then weigh them.
Greg.
I believed him for a minute.
63-year-old Peter Houghton of England became the first person to receive a permanent artificial heart, the Jarvik 2000, to kick off the summer months on June 20th.
To go back just to walk around the local reservoir or the duck pond, was such a joy.
Prior to Houghton's surgery, the device had only been used as a temporary bridge to a heart transplant, but the Jarvik 2000 would keep Houghton alive another 7 years. He passed away on November 25th, 2007. The 21st of June saw Scotland vote to abolish Section 28, a group of laws that prohibited the promotion of homosexuality by local authorities. Section 28 had been in effect since 1988 after being developed and passed into law by the United Kingdom Parliament during the ministry of Margaret Thatcher. But Scotland's Parliament, devolved from the UK Parliament in 1999 with prescribed powers, voted 99-17 to erase Section 28 after months of heated debate between politicians, LGBT activists, and church authorities.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a wonderful audience.
On June 29th, Eminem's mom, Debbie Mathers Briggs, filed a lawsuit against her son for defamation. At issue were the lyrics to his hit My Name Is, in which he says, "My mom smokes more dope than I do." Claiming that the song's popularity made it impossible for her to find work, the rapper's mother asked a judge to award her $10 million in damages. The suit was ultimately settled for a mere $25,000, most of which went to Mathers Briggs' lawyer.
Will the real Marshall Mathers please stand up and take responsibility for his actions?
Is this real life?
I've got to study. You'll survive. Later. Jake, keep an eye on him for me. Sure.
The easy-to-use Nokia 3650 camera phone with video recorder.
During iconic grunge band Pearl Jam's set at the Roskilde Festival in Denmark on June 30th, over 100,000 fans were caught in a crowd crush that left 9 people dead.
3 steps back, please. 1, 2, 3.
The band would blame lax safety procedures and a lack of action on behalf of venue security. Deeply affected by the unfortunate events, the group has continued to mark the tragedy with statements every 10 years.
And we'll always just be so sorry for the tragic events that took place.
On July 8th, tennis legend Venus Williams won her first Grand Slam singles title at Wimbledon. Just 20 years old, Williams defeated Lindsay Davenport in the final round. The win would catapult Williams into the upper echelons of elite players and would turn out to be the first in a string of major victories. She would win the singles title at Wimbledon again in 2001, 2005, 2007, and 2008.
Many American legislators have contended that debate over mutant issues should be the primary focus of what is a strictly diplomatic affair.
Look out!
Get out of my bar, freak.
July 29th brought wedding bells for movie star Brad Pitt and Friends star Jennifer Aniston. The couple exchanged vows on the beach in Malibu, California, before 200 of their closest acquaintances. The extravagant nuptials, which were believed to have cost well over $1 million, featured 4 different bands, a 13-minute fireworks display, and 50,000 individual flowers. The power couple split just under 5 years later, on January 7, 2005. The couple told People magazine they remained committed and caring friends with great love and admiration for one another. But Aniston would officially file for divorce on March 25, 2005.
You guys still talk, you and Brad?
You know, we've exchanged good wishes and all that sort of stuff to each other, but it's not a constant thing.
On August 4th, the United Kingdom celebrated the 100th birthday of the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth. Born Lady Elizabeth Angela Marguerite Bowes-Lyon on August 4, 1900, she would marry Prince Albert, the second son of King George V, who would ascend to the throne as King George VI in 1936. She took the throne herself following her husband's death in 1954. Elizabeth's centennial drew over 40,000 well-wishers together outside Buckingham Palace. Celebrated actor Sir Alec Guinness became one with the Force on August 5th. Guinness appeared in dozens of classic movies, including Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago. But he's best known for playing Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars trilogy.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Guinness had been diagnosed with prostate cancer earlier in the year, and was further diagnosed with liver cancer just 2 days before his death. After a long development process that began way back in 1998 under the codename Dolphin, Nintendo finally unveiled the GameCube on August 24th. Despite a widely praised game selection, its lack of multimedia features led to a mixed reception and slower than expected sales. After 18 years, 7 Tony Awards, and 7,485 performances, Andrew Lloyd Webber's blockbuster musical Cats closed its run at Broadway's Winter Garden Theater on September 10th.
I'll be really choked when that sign comes down because it's been part of the New York skyline for a long time.
I just did it for fun. Never thought that it would ever get on a stage.
The production began on October 7th, 1982, surpassing a chorus line to become the longest-running show in Broadway history. But after the 10th of September, all we had left were the memories. That is, until Cats made the jump from the stage to the screen in a major motion picture that premiered on December 20th, 2019, nearly 20 years later. But unlike the stage production, the movie version was so poorly received that not even Mr. Mistopheles could save it. On September 12th, the Netherlands House of Representatives passed a law legalizing same-sex marriage, as well as same-sex divorce and adoption. The bill would be approved by the Senate a month later and received royal assent from Queen Beatrix in December. The law took effect in April of 2001, officially making the Netherlands the first country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage.
Wake up! Don't go to New York. I thought we were going to Morocco. There is no Morocco. There's not even a Penny Lane. All these rules and all these sayings and nicknames.
Honey, you're too sweet for rock and roll.
Rolling into October, Yugoslavian President Slobodan Milosevic resigned from office on the 5th after his attempt to rig an election triggered mass protests across the country. A corrupt authoritarian dictator accused of encouraging police brutality, suppressing the freedoms of speech and the press, engaging in election fraud, and assassinating his political enemies, Milosevic employed the government Federal Elections Committee to change election results in certain regions, unsuccessfully trying to trigger a runoff with his opponent, who was ultimately declared the winner with a narrow but definitive majority. After his resignation, he was eventually jailed, and on June 29, 2001, he was turned over to The Hague to be prosecuted for war crimes committed in Kosovo. But Milosevic succumbed to a heart attack before the conclusion of his trial. That's one way to stay out of prison.
I went in and just simply, into a little saucer, then took the saucer and fed it to Geppetto. That's what I named him, Geppetto.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Back in 2000, NASCAR fans were treated to a thrill on October 15th, when racing legend Dale Earnhardt Sr. won his final NASCAR race in the Winston 500 at Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. Despite being in 18th place with only 4 laps to go, the superstar racer was able to break through the pack and narrowly edge out his competitors, including his own son, for his historic final win.
Have you ever won the Winston $1 Million bonus before?
It's the first time I've won it. I've been eligible several times, so be good going to Vegas now with $1 million in my pocket, huh?
A little bit nicer. You make this big sigh. I'm just trying to get by. Could you just move your legs?
What are you doing? Are you looking at my breast? You're looking at my breast.
I'm not looking at your breast. I'm trying to get to my seat.
He's looking at my breast.
Yeah, you and your special breast. Just excuse me, please.
Just go by without stepping on my foot.
Right, you wear that dress because you want people to look at your shoes, right?
The so-called Subway Series between the New York Mets and the New York Yankees came to a close on October 26th, the Yankees securing a decisive victory after 5 games. Led by Series MVP Derek Jeter, the victory marked the Bronx Bombers' 3rd consecutive World Series championship and the 26th in the history of the franchise. Moving into November, the International Space Station welcomed its first crew on the 2nd. The team, which included a NASA astronaut and 2 Russian cosmonauts, arrived on the Explorer 1 shuttle 2 days after blasting off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Their primary mission was to install and activate the station's life support and communications systems, and to work with 3 other visiting shuttle crews to continue and complete the assembly of the ISS.
Ow! Ouch, Charlie!
Hey, Toucan Sam, how would you make milk more fun?
Why, with Fruit Loop cereal straws, of course.
Just dip them in and sip, sip, sip. And pull them out and munch, munch, munch. All together now, dip, sip, munch. Fruit Loop cereal straws, colorful fruit-flavored cereal with a creamy coating inside. So fun to dip, sip, munch.
The U.S. presidential election between Republican George W. Bush and Democrat Al Gore took place on November 7th. But as the evening went on, it became increasingly clear the race was too close to call. Though initially called by the networks for Gore, the vote in Florida came to favor Bush by such a margin that Gore conceded the election, only to retract that concession at 3 a.m. the next morning.
This race is simply too close to call. And until the recount is concluded and the results in Florida become official, our campaign continues.
For the past few weeks, we have been thrown into a horrifying and tumultuous nightmare known as the recount. Regular people hand-counting ballots to make sure the right vote was cast. A process rife with fraud and democratic voodoo mind-reading.
The U.S. Supreme Court ultimately had to get involved, rejecting a deadline extension and halting the limited recount of votes in several counties ordered by the Florida Supreme Court. And Bush's victory remained. The same day, Hillary Clinton won her first term as senator from New York.
Tonight, I'm just overwhelmed by the kindness and support that I've been given.
Clinton's victory marked the first time the Empire State had a female senator, the first time a U.S. First Lady was elected to public office, and the first time anyone simultaneously held the titles of First Lady and Senator. Speaking of firsts, 16 years later, on July 26, 2016, Clinton would become the first woman in U.S. history nominated for the office of president by a major party. 155 people perished in what would become known as the Kaprun disaster on the morning of November 11th. A funicular became stuck in a tunnel in the side of a mountain and caught fire, trapping nearly every passenger inside. The track was decommissioned, and a monument commemorating the victims was installed at its base. More than 2 decades later, it's still the biggest rail disaster in Austria's history. 5 days later, on November 16th, President Bill Clinton became the first U.S. president to visit Vietnam since the Vietnam War. Clinton described the trip as a new page that would put an end to the divisions between the U.S. and Vietnam.
Once we met here as adversaries, today we work as partners.
The president's visit would include a televised address from Hanoi University and an effort to make a full accounting of American servicemen still missing in action since America's withdrawal from the country in 1975. Now we just need to get that information to Rambo.
Mr. Grinch, my name is Cindy Lou Who.
You see, even now, the terror is welling up inside you. Denial is to be expected in the face of pure evil.
小龙，通通出去，把门关上。
After weeks of legal battles, Al Gore conceded the presidential election to George W. Bush 12 days before Christmas. In a televised speech, Gore expressed disappointment with the Supreme Court's decision.
Almost a century and a half ago, Senator Stephen Douglas told Abraham Lincoln, who had just defeated him for the presidency, "Partisan feeling must yield to patriotism."
And so it was. Partisan rancor has not been a problem in American politics since. On December 15th, 14 years after triggering the worst nuclear accident in history, the Chernobyl nuclear plant in Ukraine was finally closed down. The reactor, which still provided the country with about 5% of its electricity, was the only one remaining after the 1986 meltdown, an explosion that cost thousands of lives, although the actual number may be higher.
Jesus! Can I count on you people?
Sorry, Everett.
Well, all right. We take off through that bayou. Then...
Wait a minute. Who elected you leader of this outfit?
Well, Pete, I figured it should be the one with the capacity for abstract thought.
Come on, baby, light my fire! Yes! Look what I have created! I have made fire! I have made fire! Things are changing at Montgomery Ward.
After over 100 years of being in business, popular mail order catalog turned department store chain Montgomery Ward called it quits on December 28th after losing nearly all of its business to online retailers and competitors like Walmart and Target. On December 28th, it announced it would shut down its remaining 250 stores, fire its 35,000 employees, and cease doing business. And that's how 2000 came to a close, with a controversial presidential election and a grim omen of the future for brick-and-mortar retailers. 2001 was right around the corner, bringing with it one ring to rule them all and a Tuesday morning in September that would change the world forever. But that's for next year. Coming soon, 2001. So what do you think? What was your fondest memory of 2000? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other timeline videos.